Welcome back to Owlbear Odysseys. Today we are going over part 2 of the Mordenkainen playable races. We've already done part 1, so you should go back and watch that if you haven't yet.
If you haven't seen part one yet, then stop watching because you're about to see all of them already in the tier maker. So that's that. Also, I am Shane.
I'm JT, and we've got 16 races to get through, so let's hop into it. Pun
We're
intended.
hopping right in. And that goes really well with the first race that we're going into, and it is a Herringon. Such a cool race.
It is a Herringon, just one of them. We're not talking about the race as a whole.
No, we're just talking about a singular Herringon. So they get to go hippity hop and hop on down the trail and hop right up into A tier, in my opinion, right off the bat. So we were talking about it a little bit beforehand. JT mentioned the ability name Hair Trigger. That's just a really cool name right off the bat. So with that, A tier. What are y'all's thoughts?
If you've seen the last video and saw the Goblin debacle, you know that Marshall and I have some differences of opinions, but I'm with you on this one. I really like Herringon. They've got really good mobility. They've got good initiative, and they have no limit to how often they can use lucky footwork, which is a nice. It's not an amazing ability they have, but it is a really good one. That you can use it as often as you need. So I would put Herringon in A.
Well, I have to throw a wrench in it and be different.
Oh,
I'm fully agreeing with you guys. Yeah, A tier.
He says they should go above Bugbear.
Yeah.
I wish that they had 35 feet of movement, but they don't.
No,
But,
it's fine though. I do have to say I'm a huge fan of the Hair Trigger ability. Increasing initiative bonuses is something I very much enjoy, particularly because I roll very low typically. And it's one of those things that if you're playing a Herringon, you can either make a build where you have other things that you're adding to, or you can just improve any build by making yourself a little bit faster, Like if you're bad at initiative otherwise, then you've got a little bonus there, If you've got a bad dex, you've got at least a little bonus. If you've already got a great dex, if you're already playing a Gloomstalker or something, then maybe no one will ever go before you,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
kind of
where
how
are
I
we
feel
talking
about
about in A?
mobility too. Is that like mobility is always useful regardless of the rest of your build. So I think
yeah,
Herringon just has a lot of abilities that are always going to be helpful.
Yeah.
I
Where
agree.
are we putting it in
It's
A?
hard for me. It's hard for me to say above flying, but I do still want to say that because I think that they could be S tier sometimes. So I'll say above Aarakocra.
Oh,
I would
I was
say-
thinking somewhere around Fairy, either before or after.
Oh,
I was going to
Okay.
say between Aarakocra and Deep Gnome.
oh, wow!
So
We're
we're at
all
a-
three different spots.
Well,
Rain?
y'all both went higher. Let's split the diff. Put JT in there.
Okay.
Put
Okay.
JT's spot since my spot was lower and Marshall's was higher.
I also
Okay.
any race that is less humanoid, I really like just because they're fun to play. So like, I enjoy being a bunny boy.
Agreed. So the next race that we have is the Hobgoblin, and the Hobgoblin got worse. They still have some good abilities,
It's still
but
good.
it's just not as
Better than
what
some
I
of the things we're
expect when
going
I think about Hobgoblin. When I think about Hobgoblins, I think about more of a mean race or like a just strong race, and they don't seem that strong.
Feels
anymore.
racist, but
I know.
Well, that's the thing is that like the newer books of, races and stuff. And I'm going into a little bit of a Wizard of the Coast tangent here, but the newer books and stuff, they've done some really good stuff like allowing you to pick whatever racial bonus you want. That gives you extra versatility. But they've also they're trying to kind of like even the playing field a little bit in a way like that. And they're also doing stuff where all of the new small creatures, they have a 30-foot speed. Like that's the minimum now. And they've pretty much removed talk of, ages and like lifespan. And so it's kind of like they've made things a lot more, you know, universal. They've leveled the playing field, like I was saying, in a lot of ways, but they've also kind of removed a lot of the flavor and a lot of the substance, I think.
Yeah.
So tangent over.
I agree with that.
That being said, I do still like Hobgoblin as is. I would probably put it in B tier personally. Fortune from the Many is a good ability. I hate that it maxes at 3, but it is still a like +3 is better than +0. The one change that I would want to make to them, which is something Shane suggested before we recorded that I fully agree with, is regarding Fey Gift. As is, you can help as a bonus action a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and then starting at level 3, whenever you do, you get to choose an extra ability. I think you should be able to help as a bonus action without limit and choose the extra ability up to your proficiency bonus. But apart from that kind of, I guess, house rule that you could implement, I would still say that they're probably around mid B.
I put them
I
in
agree with
upper
that.
B because I do think that Fortune from the Many is pretty good. It's especially like I just think about like as many times as you're, you know, you're in a game and you tell the DM what your attack roll is and they just go, you know, that just misses. You know, how frequently you get, you know, you get at like right below the AC or, you know, a couple below, and it's just like there's a lot of situations or a DC if you're making a skill check or something. There's a lot of situations where being able to add, you know, 1, 2, or 3 can be the difference between failure and success. So my
That's
thought
very
is
true.
somewhere mid upper B. I'm thinking probably above the Gith, maybe below the Gith. The Gith do get some good spells.
That's where I was coming from. It is, as much as I clowned on the Gith last video, and by the way, we're not changing the tier list as it is. Like, even if we disagree with what we said last time, it's staying once we put something. But I clowned on the Gith a lot. I still don't think Hobgoblin can go above them, in my opinion.
I don't want to say it's above Goblin because I really like Goblin, but it is above Goblin. And I think that the spells that the Gith get are really good comparatively to the Hobgoblin. So I would say right beneath Gith Sarai.
All right, I am okay with that. That's a good spot for it. So
Okay,
that's
so
Kenku time.
moving on to the Kinku. Not a very combat race. There are some little combat things you could do, but they are very fun roleplay wise. You can duplicate any writing or craft work from anywhere. And also the cool Kenku Recall. That's a really cool ability. I'm happy with what they did from the change about where they could not speak and they had to mimic everyone's voices, but I also still really like that roleplay wise. I really liked that ability, how they could just mimic any voice at all times, and I remember in one of my games where one of my players just dove into that head first, and it made us crack up every single time because he just mimicked every single player at the table constantly, and he only used the words they used.
Well,
it was so much fun.
They still have mimicry, which is good. I think it's basically, as far as the mimicry is concerned, I feel like the new version of Kenku didn't lose anything there. They just gained a little bit. Because if you know, if you're a strict rules as written, I'm going to be as literal as possible, then the old Kenku, it could be very hard to role play, because you might take it to the extreme of, you know, you can't talk unless, you know, you've heard someone say that, and then you might have to spend time getting into, no, I don't think you heard someone say that, which is just gonna gum down the works and also just not really be fun for anyone.
Don't do that as a DM.
Yeah.
I played an old Kenku character as well, and for me that was pretty much just anytime I spoke, we kind of interpreted it as like you could mimic someone else's voice instead of just like it has to be exact words that they've said. And so it would just be anytime I spoke, I would pretty much just say, I'm using so and so's voice, and I would say something.
The thing it makes me think about is Bumblebee from Transformers. How he could just use any song on the radio to actually be able to speak, and he had that infinite knowledge of all of those podcasts, songs, and things like that to be able to actually speak. And that's how I let my player, I was the DM for it, be able to speak, because that's the way he wanted to do it. And he just was able to mimic anything at any time, and he used other people's voices to be able to say those things. I never stopped.
Y'all didn't expect that reference today.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, but I still think they're a really good race.
So where do you want to put them, Marshall?
Okay. I lean towards B. I don't think that... actually, no. Yeah, I think they're above Githyanki. Shockingly.
Honestly, I'm thinking very similar because, we put Changeling in near bottom of B pretty much just based on roleplay. And the Kenku, we've kind of beaten death at this point, obviously has great roleplay potential. And it does have, the Kenku recall is good both, for ability checks in and out of combat, So that's, it's not, Changeling basically is pure roleplay, as we said. And this one has very good roleplay potential with a little extra, dash of ability there. So I'm kind of thinking higher B, which I feel like I've said for everything now. But I think, if we're just looking at mechanical ability, obviously it wouldn't go up in B, but I think taking in the mechanics and the flavor, like I'd be willing to put it in like somewhere in the top 3 in B, which would be above Gith, as he said.
Well, I'll be controversial, and I'm fine with where y'all said. I was going to suggest bottom of A, just because flavor-wise they are so fun to play. One of the little things that happened when they switched from Volos to Mordenkainen's, originally it was canon that their wings were gone because of a curse that happened on the species or race, or I guess species now. Regardless, in Mordenkainen's, it turned into that curse is one of their mythologies of how it happened. And I love that little bit of world building of like, oh, they have a lot of different ideas of how they lost their wings. And one of them is what used to be the canon answer. That, like, just as someone who loves fantasy world building, that is something that if I was at the WotC table and I came up with that, I would have taken the rest of the day off.
I agree.
But I understand mechanically they do not deserve to be an A. They are just roleplay wise one of the best races in the game, and I love roleplay. So I'm willing to drop them down into B and agree with you guys.
Yeah, I do want to hop on your what you're saying there, because of the three of us, I have the more player-centric outlook, I would say. I'm more of a player than a DM, whereas you guys debatably more of a DM than player.
Yeah.
And I also really love the whole losing their wings thing, because when as players, that's just something you can always bring up to make fun of the Kenku for. Like, there's always the opportunity, when you want a little quick jibe, just say call them a flightless bird or something, or just point out that they can't fly. It was done to me when I was a Kenku. I've done it to players that are Kenkus. I mean, obviously make sure they're okay with it, but it can be fun. I'm
Wizard
willing to move up to A, but I think the compromise might be top of B.
I'm fine with that.
I could say bottom A because
bottom of the A and the score is tied.
I went to B because I thought y'all were actually going to go to B as well, so I tried to put it in a better area. So I'm good with bottom A.
All right.
The next race that we have is Kobold. And I love the little kobolds. They're a really fun race, and they don't have sunlight sensitivity anymore. So Heck yes.
That is a good change they've been making. I complained earlier about what they've been doing, changing the races, but that is good. They've kind of been removing anywhere there was a straight up negative. So that's good.
Draconic Cry is a really good bonus action to be able to give you and your allies advantage. It's basically pack tactics, but giving it to your allies too. You do have a limited amount though. That alone, I think, is just really good.
How much mileage you get out of Draconic Cry does also partially depend on the party makeup, because there are multiple builds and classes, what have you, that like in Heartwood Heist, our campaign that we're currently playing, go check it out. I am playing a healing focused druid, so that really wouldn't help me a lot, but it would help other people. And you could have, there's a lot of, wizards and other casters who focus on saving throw spells that wouldn't benefit from it. But, you've got any kind of martial, then they're going to benefit.
Yep. It also, straight up, rogues love it.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So it's situational, but it's always going to be helpful to someone in the party, presumably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also, Marshall was talking about how much he loves them. I also really love kobolds. I feel like if you're the kind of person who enjoys the energy of playing a goblin PC, then kobold is just like the goblin energy with a like slant, like maybe in cursive or like a dialect, it's the same energy. I'm gonna go I'm gonna say possibly a bold statement here. I really like Draconic Cry. I like the versatility of Kobold Legacy, even if it's not amazing. I'm gonna make a bid for low A, somewhere around Eladrin.
I love me kobold. I love me some kobold.
I love me kobold.
I love me the kobold. But I would say top B myself if I had to put them somewhere.
I really respect it, Shane. I really do. I think I'm gonna side with Marshall on this one. I think top of B is where I'd put it.
Well, I was making a bid for it, but I didn't expect to get it, so you won't hear argument from me. Okay.
You two did, because I've never had strong opinions about Kobold, but you two have made me respect it more. So know that you may not have changed the tier list, Shane, but you did change my mind.
So the next one up is Lizard Folk, and I just don't see many people play Lizard Folk, because when you want to play a scaly race, people are, I think, lean towards Kobold or Dragonborn. But I was rereading it, and I forget how good they are. They're really good. I love Hungry Jaws. That's a really cool ability. What are y'all's thoughts?
They're pretty good. I'm not super.
Right.
I'm not super impressed. Here's the thing: any like racially tied attack, bite, hungry jaws. A lot of races have them. I'm playing a Leonin. They have them. Any racially tied attack just doesn't scale well. I get hungry jaws gives you some temp HP, which is nice, but you're eventually going to get to a point where that is useless. You're not going to be choosing hungry jaws over anything else you can do.
It's a bonus action.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm just not super impressed with Lizard Folk.
I don't
think it's great.
I think their redeeming feature may not be the thing. I think their main feature I like is their natural armor. Mm-hmm. Like free racial mage armor, basically. Is going to help, any build that doesn't get armor, or even some that just get light armor. That's going to be automatically good. One of the things that I'm not thrilled with Bite or Hungry Jaws, kind of the same reasons JT said. Getting a bonus action, getting temp HP is nice, but something about all of the various racial attacks that you get. It's like with your class, either you're gonna have better attack options with weapons or something, or you're gonna have better, spells or something, and it's like that's never gonna be your best option. Like if you're playing, I mean, a D6 is nice in some spots, especially if you're at lower levels, but long term, like you're playing a lizard folk, once you're in tier 3, 4, you're not going to be using bite. Like absolutely. Tier 2, you probably won't. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I could be wrong. People could choose to do whatever they want, but you're going to have better things. And I think natural armor is, to me, really the only thing that is scalably long-term good for them. I mean, they do also have swing speed. That's nice.
I like it because it's a bonus action. I wish that the temp HP was not just equal to your proficiency bonus. It should be 1d6 plus whatever your strength, the damage that you do with your attack. That's my thought, because you're taking a chunk out of someone. I wish it was a little bit better. I don't think they're great. I think it's cool though, and it's a bonus action, just a little bit of extra damage. Extra damage is always good, or an extra attack. That's always good.
Here's the thing. You're not wrong. Like, extra damage is extra damage. Hungry Jaws is the type of bonus action you're only taking when you have no other options. If you don't have a bonus action to use, it's not a bad choice, but pretty much any other bonus action you have is gonna be better.
I mean, it'd be decent for, like, Paladin. They're kind of my go-to when it comes to things that don't really use bonus actions, other than the spell versions of smites. Because, I mean, that would be a good one, because you're already up in it, and then you get an extra attack there. But even then, it's not insane.
And temp HP great as a front
but I do like natural armor. I agree with Shane. I would probably put it lower B, maybe.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. If the natural armor rescues it from being put in C, and it is pretty good, so I think lower to mid B somewhere.
This isn't necessarily fair, but I just want to rep my roleplay races. I'm gonna say underneath Changeling, but if y'all disagree, I'm fine with it.
No, that works for me.
I'm okay with under Changeling. I was gonna say actually below Earth Genasi.
No, I think I would put Lizard Folk there.
Okay,
it's okay, guys. There's things that are going in C.
That's true. We're gonna get there.
We'll get there. Yeah, so Minotaur, it's just the worst bugbear. It's not that good. I wish it was better.
Yeah,
what are y'all's thoughts?
We literally just came from Lizard Folk. We were just talking about how racial attacks are almost never going to be good, or the best thing you have. At least they might be good, but they're almost never going to be the best thing you have. And they kind of their things kind of focus on that. They have their horn attack, and then they've got extra things that they can do with their. They've got the Goring Rush, which is also like attacking with horns as a bonus action. It's like, that's decent if you didn't have something else to do with your bonus action, and you happen to dash as well. But it's not going to be crazy. And the same thing with the Hammering Horns. A feeling I have about the Minotaur is the Goring Rush and the Hammering Horns. Those little extra things you get with attacks. If you want to be able to do that thing, what you should do is play, a different race, play a Moon Druid, and because some of the, there's a lot of variety in those CR1 beasts. Obviously, you can pick the bear, you can have multi-attack at level 2, and be freaking ridiculous. Or you can pick something like, I want to say the lion has a similar thing where if you move, it has a pounce where if you move completely straight for, I want to say 20 feet, you get something extra. And there's some other things where you can like knock prone. So I think if you want to have those extra little additional things, Moon Druid is what you want. You don't want to play a Minotaur.
Or you go fighter and you use superiority dice.
Now, I do want to give Minotaur a little bit of a defense here. I might be wrong. I might be misinterpreting. So correct me if I am. Hammering horns, I don't think has to be your horns attack, right? It's just any melee attack as part of an attack action. So it's a little bit better. It's better than Goring Rush. That's for dang sure.
It's another. Do you have something better to do with your bonus action from your class?
Yeah.
If you do,
they're also really good.
Okay.
Yeah. They're also really good if someone casts Maze on you, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Which is a fun mythology reference. I like that. It's really cool.
It is fun.
But it's not good.
Yeah. I think maybe y'all correct me here. I think we're all thinking C. Where are we putting it in C?
I agree with C.
Honestly, bottom of C?
Bottom.
Okay.
Bottom.
I could see an argument for being above Centaur, but I think below Centaur is probably...
It makes me sad, because I think Minotaurs are so cool, but it's a really bad race.
I'm willing to put them above Centaur solely for their interaction with the Maze spell, because I like the reference there, but I don't like it enough to fight for them.
No, let's leave it there and move on to Orc.
Yeah.
Let's move on to something significantly better.
Yeah, let's get to the Orc. Orc, really good. One of the best abilities, Relentless Endurance. Always a good ability.
Yeah.
Always.
I was going to say, in part 1, we put Half-Orc in S tier almost solely off the back of Relentless Endurance. They have other stuff that helped them. Look, Adrenaline Rush is fine. You've got several classes that are going to give you that anyway. But if you're taking a different class, it's a good bonus to have. And Powerful Build is neat if you have a DM who worries about carrying capacity. I would say, and I'm just going to jump into it, I would say bottom of S on Relentless Endurance alone.
Okay, I was going to try to argue for A, and I thought you guys were going to be resistant, but I'm fine with low S.
We've got to be internally consistent.
That's true. I also want to say that so far. I played this Orc race as something I just mentioned, a Moon Druid, and Adrenaline Rush. It's one of those things that, with DM discretion and approval, you can probably do that while you're wild-shaped.
Yep.
And then you may have wild-shaped in something with a higher base speed than you, and you can go a lot faster. Yeah. And also just, if you don't, like JT said, if you don't, you could already get bonus action dash from something. You could be a rogue, you could be a monk. If you're playing something that doesn't already get that, then it is very good to have. Especially since you get temp HP as well.
Yes,
HP is always good.
I don't want it to come across as I am bashing Adrenaline Rush in any way. It's good when it's good. You just don't always need it.
Yep. And then Powerful Build. It's not great, but it's still good. So that's where Orc is. Next up, we have Satyrs. I am extremely biased because Satyrs are
There's
amazing.
Gonna be a fight.
I want to say S tier. They're not S tier. I'm going to say top of A tier.
So you're putting them above Aarakocra?
Magic resistance is OP. Yes.
Here's the thing. Other races have had something similar to magic resistance that we have not put there.
Magic resistance, though, is all spells.
Yeah, but it's just spells, is not... They updated it to not be spells and magical effects, but...
We haven't put anything else like that high.
Well, Deep Gnome is up there because of the Gnome Cunning.
Right.
I think, obviously, magic resistance. Also 35-foot speed.
Yeah.
Good.
Mirthful Leaps.
And I mean, yeah, Mirthful Leaf, sure. Fey creature type. I know I've said that too many times, but not being a humanoid is good in some situations.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it at top of A. I do think my place would probably be above Deep Gnome.
Speaking of things we've already said, Ram, get out of here. Worthless.
It's bad.
Go away. Mirthful Leaps is nice. I have defended mobility on this channel to the detriment of my own sanity at times, and I will continue to do so. Mirthful Leaps is nice. I'm just gonna say it. It's not that good as far as mobility abilities go. All right, you're at most getting 8 more feet to your jump. But it's, a little bit of mobility is always nice. Shane, you said above Deep Gnome?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say below Deep Gnome.
You already heard where I said I can concede above Deep Gnome.
So it goes
because
there.
Just the magic resistance.
Split the diff, get my way.
Split the diff, it ties with Deep Gnome. All right, now we said that there were going to be some low-ranking races before. I don't think any of us necessarily knew Minotaur would be where it was when we said that.
Nope.
We all knew this one would be.
Yeah.
Sea elves are bad. Saying it right off the bat, JT was already about to go there. Or F tier.
I think he pretty that's the thing. I will be the devil's advocate for us for a second here. The sea elf is a fun choice if you are playing an aquatic or oceanic or water adjacent setting. If you're playing if it's some kind of like pirate thing where you're on a ship a lot, that'll be fun. If you are playing a completely landlocked game, you are going to regret picking Sea Elf. And the thing is that it's just not great. The things that it has that are good are because it's an elf. It has nothing to do with being the sea part.
I will say, I would put them at the bottom of C because they still have some good things from being an elf.
France.
And there's another race that deserves F more, in my opinion, coming up. But I'm fine with putting them in F as well.
The only reason why I say F is because we won't have other things in F.
Yes,
if we had a D tier, I know we'll have one more.
We will if I get my way.
If we had D tier, it would be in D tier. There are some abilities that are okay for a Sea Elf, but I say that they only shine if you're playing an ocean game. If we're playing any water-based campaign, they'd go up higher. They could get to top B, I would say, even. But moving on from Sea Elf, Shadar Kai. I'm just going to let Shane take off with Shadar Kai, because I know how much he loves Shadar Kai.
And you'll hear a different way of pronouncing it.
Yeah, I always say Shadar Kai.
Oh,
I have no idea what the official pronunciation is, but obviously I'm right.
I think you might be right.
With no knowledge of whether it's true, of what's the real one, I'm right and you're wrong. Okay. I love Shadar Kai. I'm almost afraid to say that because they are once again one of the typically edgy races. Like this is like you're getting tired of playing your tieflings. And your necrotic shroud Aasimar. It's like that's old news. I'm gonna play a Shadar Kai.
Shane's favorite Sonic character is Shadow, in case anyone's wondering.
Sure. I mean, they have the elf stuff, which is typically good. They have resistance to necrotic damage, which may or may not come in handy. Where they shine is their Blessing of the Raven Queen. Like Eladrin, they can basically Misty Step racially, but what they get that Eladrin don't is once they use it after level 3, you get resistance to all damage until the start of your next turn, which is very good. So
that already popped up in Heartwood Heist. It helped Shane's character very much so.
I mean, honestly, that was one of the reasons that in that moment I chose to teleport, because I knew I was going to get hit next turn, and it was like,
yep.
It would be better for me to be over there, and even more than that, once I'm over there, it'll be better that I can resist some things, because Marshall is going to try to murder me.
Honestly, like, again, we are not changing things once they are placed. I kind of wish we had Eladrin higher because of their racial teleportation, but that is, again, mobility. That is just really good. In Player's Handbook, we put Dragonborn in S tier partially because they can have resistance to any damage type. Shatterkai get resistance to all damage types for a limited time. I would feel disingenuous if I did not argue for them to be at least top of A. Like, I would say lowest I would put them personally is right below Aarakocra.
Whoa.
I was thinking lower in A, like above Fairy, but you saying that makes me feel like between Aarakocra and Harengon is such a good spot to put them, honestly.
Makes you feel like you can fight for it a little bit more.
Yeah, it's like when I look at those two, it's like, yeah, it's better than Harengon. No, it's probably not better than Aarakocra. Whoop. There we go. Right in there.
Aarakocra are there because of mobility, because of their flight.
Yeah.
So I don't think we can put Shatterkai above them. Even though Shatterkai do have other abilities that go along with Blessing of the Raven Queen, it's just such a good ability in its own right.
I think Shatterkai or Shaddarkai, whatever, are
I like
really
to call
good.
them Shaddarkai.
I definitely think A tier. I do not think above Satyr. There's a little bit of bias for Satyr, but I don't think they're better than Harengon still, because the limitation of the teleportation. But still, it's so strong being resistant to all damage types.
What specifically are you referring to when you say the limitation?
Just the amount you can teleport. You don't...
the proficiency.
The range or the limited number of times?
He's talking about the
limited number of times. The usage.
Okay.
That's the only reason.
I mean, it's still more racial teleportation than most races get.
That's fair. I would definitely say they're above some other teleporters. I'd say they're above Eladrin, guaranteed. I don't think that they compete with the infinite uses of... I forgot which ability for Harengon.
For the D4 to dex saving throws is definitely better.
It's just a better ability, though.
Yeah, I know. It's a better ability.
I'm willing to put them below Harengon because you're fighting for it. They are better than Satyrs. I'm sorry. I know that Satyr is one of your favorites, but they are better.
The thing is, we're going into resistances. I only argue for Satyr being above them because they're resistant to all magic. But I understand being resistant to all damage types is better. It's just Satyrs are resistant to all magic at all times.
Shatterkai also just have a better mobility option. It might be limited in usage, but it is a better mobility.
Yeah, I get it. You have to use a bonus action still, though. Mirthful Leaps for Satyr, you don't have to use a bonus action.
And unlike Minotaurs, it is a bonus action I would readily use when having other options.
That's agreed. But I can accept Shatterkai being where they are. So, moving on is to the next one of the Shifter.
We gotta go.
Shifters are a really cool race. I thought you could choose between any of those 4 abilities when I first looked at them for their shifting thing, but no, that's their bestial, like, ancestry. They'd be busted if they could choose at any time. But they're a really cool race if you like lycanthropy.
It's not that it would be busted, it's that it wouldn't make sense. I mean, the lore of shifters is kind of weird anyway, because it's kind of like you descend from someone with lycanthropy, so it's like at some point it goes from being a curse to just being hereditary and being a race, which is super weird. But also it's like, yeah, if you are a shifter because your grandpa was a werewolf, then it doesn't make sense that you're going to turn and be all were-rat looking. It's like you're going to be werewolf-like when you shift every time, you know.
I will say, I know, Shane, you're saying it's kind of weird. I think it's neat. Like, it makes sense to me that if lycanthropy exists in the world, it would have that kind of trickle down effect.
I mean, something can be weird and neat. I wasn't saying it wasn't neat. I love
disagree. We're fighting.
Okay.
So their only ability is ability that stands out is shifting. Their other abilities are
they have dark vision.
Yeah, they have passive things. That's their only active thing.
Yeah. Shifting is really cool though. I don't think that they're A tier. I lean towards B.
I was gonna say I'm gonna make the case that I have previously. It's a nice bonus action ability, and again, if you're playing a paladin, it's one of your only bonus action options. But if you have other bonus actions, those are probably going to be better. That being said, shifting is, again, way better than anything Minotaurs have to offer.
Yeah.
Which I really like Minotaurs, so I hate dogging on them this much.
I'm gonna suggest between Goblin and Changeling. I feel like Goblin's Nimble Escape is a better bonus action. You don't get as effects for multiple rounds, but I argue that's a better bonus action. And we love the roleplay aspects of the Changeling, but I mean the Shifter race itself is so mired in such a specific lore, and it if you're playing it right, when they shift, that's gonna have aspects of you're gonna have to deal with that, roleplay wise, not just mechanically. So that's the reason I make the argument to put it above Changeling.
I was going to say I'm fine with putting it there because it is also a very roleplay heavy race. So I agree.
I go above Hobgoblin myself. I don't think they're better than the Gith, though.
Well, no one's arguing that.
Yeah.
So do we compromise and put it above Goblin then? Is that what we're doing?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can't tell you which I would prefer between Shifter and Goblin, so I can see it.
So, the next up is definitely another S tier. I know JT is going to argue for it because mobility. The Tabaxi. Tabaxi feline agility is just nutty right off the bat. That's S tier.
Marshall says
JT?
Definitely another S tier, knowing full well from our conversation beforehand that Shane's not going to agree.
I know.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like looking at it, where Eric Hakra is, I would probably say maybe top of A. But if you both say S, then yeah, let's move it up there.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We could almost just leave it at this. If you know what feline agility does, then you know how insane it is and how well it can stack.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I have nothing else to add. Feline agility is amazing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Keep it simple.
So,
let's just move on. That's where it belongs.
Yeah, the sooner we can get to Triton, the sooner I can relieve my pent-up anger from the week.
Spoiler.
So the next up is the Turtle. Their base AC being 17, that's really good. I used to think that they were a lot better. I thought you could have that base AC of 17 plus the Monk and Barbarian because when I was told about that when I was the unarmored defense stuff when I was first starting D&D. But they don't have that.
Yeah, let's be clear. That is really not how that works.
It's not.
Yeah.
DM, do not let a player tell you that they can do that because they cannot.
Don't.
Marshall told me that he bans Triton or Turtle because of that, and because I didn't know anything about D&D at the time, I just went along with it. And then when I DM'd my first campaign, someone was like, "Hey, can I play a Turtle?" They didn't end up playing one, but I looked at it and I was like, I may become the circus for this, but I think Marshall's wrong. I'm gonna. And it was just the thing of I didn't understand why that misunderstanding came to be. But that being said, Turtles are still pretty dang good.
17 base AC
just having
and the ability to use a shield or braces defense,
use shield,
what have you, or shield.
Yeah,
it's the 17 base AC is very good. I mean, there's other things you can do that you could get better. But there's a lot of the classes that 17 is kind of the best you could get with, and you can start with that at level 1.
A wizard,
and
a sorcerer.
You can get even bigger than that, just with drawbacks.
Yeah.
I think,
and then they also have shell defense, which is
that's what he was
not
talking about.
great, but it's still cool. They also have the really good ability of claws.
I'll kill you.
Have we not clowned enough on racial attacks? Do we need to go beat Marshall up? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'll kill you.
All right, let's place this.
I say bottom B.
I would say I'd put it above lizard folk. At a minimum.
Oh yeah, we have it.
Well,
we have lizard folk there because of natural armor.
Yeah.
And the 13 plus dex you could get an 18, but unless you're playing a dexy character already, that's unlikely. So most situations, Tortle's going to be higher.
I was gonna say Tortle is not objective. Tortle AC is not objectively better than lizard folk, but it usually will be.
I want to say somewhere around Hobgoblin, above or below. What do you guys think?
I would put it below.
Below.
All right.
Below Hobgoblin.
Let's just pop her in there and move on.
All right.
So JT, go ahead and destroy the Triton.
So
lovers.
here we go. Right.
Here's
JT?
the thing.
Is that where you wanted it?
Triton. Yeah, I see. They're so high in S tier that they loop back around to being bottom F. Here's the thing. Triton have nothing. They have nothing. They have nothing. If you're not in a aquatic campaign, they are worse than Sea Elf. If you're in an aquatic campaign, they are worse than Sea Elf. Their ability, and I'm a clown on this hard, Emissary of the Sea. Last video, we spent a lot of time talking about Furbolg that have a similar ability that lets you communicate with various creatures, but they cannot communicate back. And it gives you like advantage on
charisma
checks to influence them. Emissary of the Sea is objectively worse than that. Because, again, they can understand your words. You cannot understand them. You get no check. You get no advantage. You cannot. You're talking to animals. I can talk to my dog all I want, and I have the exact same abilities that a Triton does. They get some neat enough spells with control air and water, but apart from fog cloud and gust of wind, if you're not in an aquatic campaign, you are playing a useless PC.
Yeah,
that's all.
I pretty much JT spoke my mind, basically.
Next one up is another Genasi, the final Genasi, Water Genasi.
Whoa,
they're so good.
Just as bad.
No, they're not
a little
just
better.
as bad.
You're right. They are bad for the same reasons, but they're not just as bad.
Yeah,
they're okay. They're not good though.
Yeah,
they aren't.
They're not okay. I'm sorry. They're bad.
They have Acid Splash.
They're better than CL.
Getting a cantrip is always fun in some way, and they create or destroy water walk. Create or destroy water can be good, depending.
It's a very creative spell.
Yeah, it's a very fun spell, and acid damage resistance. Yeah. I want to put them bottom of C, but I feel like they're really not better than CL. I mean, they are better than CL for Triton, but I don't think they're enough better to break out of the F tier for those aquatic based people.
I agree with you. They're like on the same level as Sea Elf to me. I would say that Sea Elf is probably better solely off of trance. But I'm fine with Water Genasi where they are. Because I really like Create or Destroy Water. It is a really fun spell.
I want to remind everyone, these three would be in a little bit different spots if we were actually thinking about water-based campaigns. Triton would still be very low, but they'd be a little bit better.
These are just our opinions, and if you disagree, that's something to bring up with your counselor this week.
Also,
in the comments.
Also, just circling back to Triton, I think it's one of those things that they kind of took out of the race when they made a new version. But the old version, Tritons basically hated anyone that was not hated anyone. They thought they were better than everyone else.
They did.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, an interesting thing, but also not great.
That's where we have the aquatic races. We have one final race, the good old Yuan T, or as I heard one time, Yuan Tai.
What am I untying?
Everything.
I've heard them called Yanti, so
interesting. So
the snake people,
they're not bad. They have magic resistance, already good, and poison resilience. That's also pretty good.
I mean, we can't talk about Yuan Ti without talking about the old version, the Yuan Ti Pureblood.
yeah.
Who were just, I believe, the most commonly banned. They were very good. And I want to say they obviously got nerfed, but they're still good. This version of Yuan Ti is still pretty good. And they have the poison resilience that is relatively common at this point. And they have magic resistance. I think they deserve somewhere an A. What do you guys think?
They've got to go up there.
A too.
Yeah, they've got to go up there off of magic resistance.
Yeah.
I would say around Deep Gnome and Satyr.
I was gonna say somewhere around Fairy. So maybe Deep Gnome and Fairy in there.
Yeah, I was thinking around Eladrin, so it works.
Okay. Yeah, that works. So that is Mordenkainen's playable races for everyone who saw this tier list for the races. If you haven't seen our Player's Handbook races, you should go check that one out. And we will be doing the next playable races tier list over the rest of them.
Everything
and
else.
Just combining them together.
We're each going to chug 2 Red Bulls and then just go.
Let's do it. So, JT and Shane, do y'all have anything else to say before we sign off and say goodbye?
I mean, I just want to reaffirm that these are our opinions. The purpose of this, more than anything, is just to raise arguments and start a discussion. So if you disagree with us on one of these, let us know why. We're not, I mean, Shane might, but we're not saying that we're objectively right. We want to hear your opinions on it, unless you're defending Triton, and then I want to egg your house.
Yeah.
I want to hear the reasons why everyone likes the sea beings other than sea-based campaigns or water-based campaigns.
Yeah, if you have one of those reasons, let us know, because we can't think of any. I will say, I said this before, if you liked what you watched, if you didn't like what you watched, why are you still here? But we appreciate it anyway. Go watch, check out our Heartwood Heist, the campaign that Marshall's running. You'll see me and JT in there. I think that's a good one. JT, do you have another video on the channel that they might like besides campaign video?
I mean, we've got 2 other race tier lists up at this point, but also check out our video where we talk about different ways of determining stats. That's a really fun one. The 3 of us definitely come across from the DM's perspective because we are DMs. But whether you're a player or a DM, I think there's a lot of good information in that one. So check that one out.
Yeah. So thank you all for watching. We hope to see you in our next videos. And have a good rest of y'all's day. Bye-bye.
See you, everybody.
Adios.